A beauty company with more than 150 years of history doesn't make impulsive decisions. Every ambassador, every campaign, every face attached to its flagship products is the result of careful, deliberate calculation, market research, brand alignment studies, years of relationship building before a single contract gets signed. So when Shiseido, one of the oldest, most storied cosmetics houses on Earth, handed the global ambassador role for its flagship serum to a K-pop star, it wasn't a random celebrity booking. It was a bet, and a calculated one. The question worth asking isn't whether Lisa is famous enough for a campaign like this. Obviously, she is. The real question is why a company this careful chose her, specifically, at this exact moment, and what the earliest signals suggest about whether that bet is working. Let's break down the strategy, piece by piece. This video unpacks the actual business logic behind Shiseido's partnership with Lisa, why the fit makes sense, how the campaign was built, and what early, verifiable signs suggest about its impact so far. No hype, no fabricated numbers, just the strategy, laid out plainly. Part 1. Who is Shiseido? The legacy behind the bet. To understand why this partnership matters, you first need to understand exactly who's making the bet. Shiseido was founded in 1872 in Ginza, Tokyo, reportedly as Japan's first Western-style pharmacy, before evolving into one of the oldest cosmetics companies operating anywhere in the world today. Over a century and a half, it's built a reputation as a prestige-driven beauty house, the kind of brand that competes at the top end of the skincare and cosmetics market rather than chasing mass-market volume. Today, Shiseido's portfolio reportedly spans roughly 30 brands, including its own namesake line, along with Clé de Peau Beauté, NARS, and Drunk Elephant, among others. By most industry estimates, the company ranks among the top 4 or 5 players globally in premium and prestige skincare and color cosmetics, with a particularly strong foothold in its home market of Japan, where it reportedly holds roughly a tenth of the entire beauty and personal care market. It operates across a genuinely global footprint: Japan, China, the broader Asia-Pacific region, the Americas, Europe, and international travel retail, employing tens of thousands of people worldwide. It's also worth noting that Shiseido has, in recent years, been navigating a deliberate strategic turnaround, streamlining its brand portfolio, cutting costs, and working to reignite growth after a stretch of softer performance, particularly in China. Public strategic plans from the company have emphasized rebuilding core brand strength and improving profitability over the next several years, with leadership explicitly framing the current period as one of renewed investment in the company's flagship names. Against that backdrop, a major new global ambassador isn't a minor marketing footnote. It's a visible, public signal of where the company is placing its bets for renewed relevance and growth. That context matters enormously for this story. A company this large, this established, and this deliberately focused on rebuilding momentum doesn't hand its flagship product's global face to just anyone. Part 2. Who is Lisa? Why she's a marketer's dream. On the other side of this partnership is Lisa. And it's worth understanding specifically why she represents such an attractive ambassador, beyond simply being famous. Lisa rose to global fame as a member of Blackpink, one of the best-selling K-pop groups in history, before building a substantial solo career of her own, chart-topping singles, her own entertainment venture, and an expanding acting resume that includes a role in HBO's The White Lotus. She's reportedly one of the most followed musicians in the world on social media, with a following that spans continents, languages, and demographics in a way few entertainers can match. From a pure marketing standpoint, several qualities make her unusually valuable as a beauty ambassador specifically. There's her cross-cultural positioning, Thai by birth, based for years in South Korea, and globally famous across Western markets, giving her a genuinely rare ability to resonate across Asian and Western audiences simultaneously, rather than being culturally rooted in just one region. There's her aesthetic association. She's widely recognized for her skin and beauty presentation specifically, which is exactly the kind of personal brand alignment a skincare ambassador needs. And there's her existing brand portfolio, including ambassador roles in fashion and apparel, which signals to any new partner that she already carries proven commercial value in the endorsement space. There's also a less obvious factor worth naming: engagement quality, not just follower count. K-pop fan bases are widely recognized across the marketing industry for unusually high rates of active engagement, commenting, sharing, and organizing around content, rather than simply passive following. For a brand evaluating an ambassador's actual reach, that distinction between raw audience size and genuine engagement can matter as much as, or more than, the headline follower number itself. Put simply, Lisa isn't just a celebrity with a large following. She's a celebrity whose specific combination of reach, aesthetic association, and cross-market appeal maps unusually well onto what a global skincare brand actually needs. Part 3. The logic of celebrity beauty ambassadorships. Before going further into this specific deal, it's worth explaining why beauty brands lean on global ambassadors at all, because this is a far more calculated business decision than it might look from the outside. At its core, a beauty ambassador deal is about borrowing trust and aspiration. A product can claim to work, but a face the public already admires and trusts can make that claim feel true in a way advertising copy alone can't. When a brand attaches a global icon to a specific product line, it's effectively transferring a slice of that person's credibility, aesthetic appeal, and cultural relevance onto the product itself, a far more valuable exchange than simply paying for name recognition. These deals are also, by most accounts, some of the highest-stakes marketing decisions a beauty company makes. They typically involve multi-year commitments, substantial budgets, and, perhaps most importantly, significant reputational risk, since the brand's identity becomes publicly linked to that individual's image and choices for the duration of the partnership. That's precisely why brands, especially prestige ones with reputations to protect, tend to vet these choices with extraordinary care, rather than chasing whoever happens to be trending. Global reach adds another layer of calculation. A brand like Shiseido, competing across dozens of markets simultaneously, needs an ambassador whose appeal doesn't stop at a national border. Someone capable of representing the brand's identity coherently to audiences in Tokyo, Bangkok, Paris, and Los Angeles, all at once. That's a much narrower pool of candidates than it might initially appear, since most entertainers, however famous, remain culturally rooted primarily in one region or language market. There's one more layer worth naming. Fit has to work in both directions. It's not enough for a brand to want a famous face. The celebrity's own public image and existing associations need to genuinely support the specific story the brand is trying to tell, or the partnership risks feeling arbitrary to consumers who are increasingly skilled at spotting endorsements that don't quite make sense. Part 4. Why Lisa? Why now? So why Lisa? And why did this specific pairing happen now? Start with the aesthetic fit. Shiseido's messaging around this partnership has consistently emphasized language like beauty that radiates from within, and skin that reflects inner strength and confidence rather than simply concealing age. Themes the brand has directly tied to Lisa's own public image and widely noted skin. That's not incidental positioning, it's a direct alignment between an ambassador's existing public association and the exact product story a brand wants to tell. Then there's the bridge-building function. Shiseido's own commentary around the partnership has repeatedly framed Lisa's dual identity, rooted in Asia, globally successful, as directly embodying both the brand's heritage and its global ambitions. For a Japanese company working to expand and modernize its presence across both its home region and Western markets simultaneously, an ambassador who can genuinely speak to both audiences without feeling imported into either one is an unusually efficient strategic asset. Timing matters here too. This partnership arrives during a period when K-pop's global cultural footprint has arguably never been larger, and when younger, digitally native consumers across multiple continents are increasingly discovering beauty brands through the artists and creators they already follow, rather than through traditional advertising alone. For a company in the middle of a broader strategic push to reconnect with exactly that demographic, partnering with one of the genre's most recognizable global faces is less a bold gamble than a logical response to where its target consumers already are. There's also a simpler, more human layer worth including by most accounts. Lisa has described being a longtime user of Shiseido products before the partnership existed. Whether or not that detail meaningfully influenced the brand's decision, it does support the kind of authenticity narrative that makes ambassador partnerships land better with skeptical modern audiences, who tend to notice when an endorsement feels manufactured versus genuine. Finally, it's worth noting the product itself factored heavily into the timing. Shiseido's flagship serum had reportedly just gone through a renewed, next-generation formulation update, giving the brand a natural moment to reintroduce the product to global audiences with fresh messaging. Pairing that relaunch with a high-profile new ambassador, rather than simply updating the packaging quietly, maximized the visibility of both moves at once, a fairly standard but well-executed piece of marketing sequencing. Part 5. Inside the campaign. So what does the actual campaign look like? Titled, Fast, Slow, Free. It launched in February 2026 across Shiseido's global Instagram and TikTok channels, built around a 3-part film series in which Lisa shares her personal skincare journey and routine. The campaign's conceptual framework breaks into 3 distinct ideas: fast, representing immediate visible results, slow, representing the clinically supported, longer-term slowing of skin's aging process, and free, built around a freedom from age philosophy that reframes the entire category away from the traditional language of fighting or combating aging toward a more affirming idea of supporting skin's own long-term strength. That reframing itself is a meaningful creative choice. Much of the skincare industry has historically leaned on language built around fighting, combating, or reversing age, messaging that can carry an implicit negativity about aging itself. Positioning the campaign instead around growth, strength, and evolving into a fuller version of oneself connects more naturally to Lisa's own public narrative as an artist who's continuously evolved throughout her career, rather than feeling like a generic serum pitch attached to a famous face. The rollout also extended well beyond digital content. A television commercial reportedly began airing in early March, expanding the campaign into broadcast media, while pop-up shop experiences and limited edition product kits brought the partnership into physical retail spaces as well, including large-scale activations in markets like Southeast Asia. Taken together, that's a genuinely full-funnel campaign, social-first storytelling, broadcast reach, and in-person retail experience, all built around a single consistent creative concept. That sequencing itself reflects a deliberate strategy. Launch digitally first, where the ambassador's own fanbase can generate organic early momentum, then expand into broadcast and physical retail once that initial wave of attention has been established. It's a markedly different approach from the traditional model of a single, brand-controlled television spot debuting cold, and it reflects how much modern beauty marketing now depends on fan-driven amplification as the first stage of a campaign, rather than an afterthought to it. Part 6. The early signs of success. So, has the bet actually paid off so far? It's worth being precise about what we can and can't say this early in a multi-year partnership. But the available signals point in a consistently positive direction, at least by the standards typically used to judge a campaign's opening months. According to Launch Metrics, a media analytics firm that tracks celebrity and brand marketing impact, Lisa's ambassador announcement reportedly generated several $1 million in estimated media impact value within just the first 24 hours, with her own announcement post alone reportedly responsible for a substantial share of that figure. That's a widely used industry metric for estimating the earned media value of a celebrity marketing moment. And a figure of that scale within a single day is, by most accounts, a notably strong opening signal for any ambassador launch. Beyond that initial spike, the campaign has reportedly continued generating sustained engagement well past the announcement itself. The subsequent expansion into a television commercial and physical retail activations, including large in-person pop-up events that drew significant crowds and extensive social media. Coverage in markets like Thailand suggests a brand confident enough in early momentum to keep scaling its investment, rather than treating the initial announcement as the campaign's peak moment. It's also worth noting the broader online conversation the partnership has generated, sustained hashtag activity, widespread entertainment and beauty press coverage across multiple regions, and consistent visibility across both K-pop fan communities and general beauty and fashion audiences. That kind of cross-community reach, reaching well beyond a brand's existing customer base into entirely new audiences, is exactly the outcome ambassador deals are designed to produce, and by most accounts this one has managed it unusually effectively for a campaign still in its first several months. None of this constitutes confirmed sales data, and it would be premature to declare the partnership an unqualified commercial triumph this early. But as an early-stage read on cultural traction and engagement, the available signals are genuinely strong. Strong enough that industry observers covering the beauty and marketing space have generally characterized the launch as one of the more successful ambassador rollouts of the year so far. Part 7. What this says about the future of beauty marketing. Zoom out, and this partnership fits into a much larger shift, reshaping how the beauty industry approaches marketing entirely. Global cross-cultural ambassadors, rather than region-specific celebrity endorsements, have become an increasingly central strategy for major beauty houses looking to compete across borders simultaneously. K-pop artists in particular have emerged as an unusually powerful force in this space, thanks to a combination of intensely engaged global fan bases, strong aesthetic and skincare associations built into the genre's own culture, and a demonstrated ability to move conversation across multiple markets at once. This shift also reflects a broader move toward social-first, creator-style campaign formats over traditional print or broadcast-first advertising. Building a campaign around a multi-part personal video series, rolled out first on Instagram and TikTok before expanding into broadcast, treats the ambassador less like a spokesperson delivering a script and more like a creator sharing something genuinely her own. A format increasingly expected by younger, digitally native consumers. Shiseido's approach here looks less like an isolated experiment and more like a template other legacy beauty brands are likely to keep leaning on, pairing established prestige. Credibility with exactly the kind of globally fluent, digitally native ambassador who can carry that credibility into markets and demographics the brand hasn't fully reached on its own. It's also worth noting how quickly this playbook is spreading across the industry more broadly. Other major beauty and luxury houses have, in recent years, increasingly turned to K-pop artists specifically for exactly this kind of global bridge-building role, suggesting the strategy Shiseido applied here isn't a one-off, but part of a wider, accelerating trend reshaping how legacy beauty brands think about global relevance in the streaming and social media era. Part 8. What this means for Lisa's brand. It's worth flipping the lens back to Lisa herself, because this partnership does real work for her personal brand too, not just Shiseido's. Beyond music, Lisa has spent recent years steadily building a reputation as a legitimate fashion and beauty authority. Not just a celebrity face attached to products, but someone brands specifically position at the center of their storytelling. This Shiseido partnership adds to a growing portfolio of ambassador and creative roles across fashion and apparel, reinforcing a version of her public identity that exists well beyond her music career alone. For an artist whose career already spans music, acting, and fashion, a leading role in one of the world's most respected skincare houses adds a specific kind of credibility that's harder to manufacture than pure fame. An association with expertise, science, and prestige, rather than just visibility. That's a meaningfully different kind of brand equity than a typical celebrity endorsement provides, and it further cements her positioning as one of the most commercially versatile entertainers currently working at a global scale. It also diversifies her personal brand in a way that reduces reliance on any single industry. Music trends shift, acting roles come and go, but a long-term ambassador role with a company built on scientific credibility and prestige positioning offers a more durable, less trend-dependent foundation. The kind of partnership that can keep generating value for both sides well beyond any single album cycle or film release. So where does that leave this partnership? As a genuinely instructive case study in modern celebrity branding, not because it's flashy, but because it's deliberate, well-aligned, and by every early indicator available, working roughly as intended. Shiseido didn't simply borrow fame. It found an ambassador whose personal narrative, aesthetic association, and cross-cultural reach mapped directly onto exactly the story it wanted to tell about its flagship product, and it built a genuinely full-scale campaign around that alignment, from social media to broadcast to physical retail. That's a very different story than simply paying for a famous face and hoping the association sticks. Whether this partnership continues generating the kind of momentum it's shown in its first few months remains to be seen. That's exactly why it's worth continuing to watch, rather than declaring victory this early. But as a piece of modern marketing strategy, it's hard to find a cleaner example of a legacy brand and a global celebrity finding genuine alignment. If you'd like to see another brand partnership broken down this way, let us know in the comments which one you want covered next. And subscribe if you want more of these strategy-first looks at how modern celebrity marketing actually works.